Han Yun had learned that space was quiet in a way that could make a person think too much. The trade station where he worked floated far from the busy roads, held together by old metal, patched cables, and human stubbornness. It was a place where ships came only when they had no better choice. Yun liked it that way. No crowds, no politics, just broken machines and long shifts. He was finishing a routine check near Dock 7 when the station alarms rang, short and sharp. An unscheduled arrival. That alone was strange. Ships that came here always sent warnings first. Yun wiped his hands on his worn jacket and looked toward the docking window. A small alien vessel drifted in, its hull burned and cracked. Power flickered across its surface like a dying heartbeat. It was not a military ship, and it was not a trader. It looked like something meant to travel quietly, now forced to beg space for mercy. Lee, Jisu's voice came over the comm, calm but tight. She said the ship was venting atmosphere and had no active weapons. Station control wanted eyes on the dock. Yun did not hesitate. He grabbed a medical kit and headed inside the airlock. When the doors opened, cold air rushed past him. The alien ship's ramp lowered slowly and stopped halfway. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a figure stumbled forward and collapsed. She was taller than Yun, her body wrapped in torn armor that shimmered with faint colors even under the harsh dock lights. Dark blood, not red, stained her side. Her breathing was shallow. Yun had seen many kinds of beings in his years as a frontier medic, but something about her felt different. Not dangerous. Heavy. Like gravity. He approached slowly, hands open, showing no threat. He knelt beside her and scanned her with his handheld device. Severe trauma. Energy burns. Internal damage. She should not have been alive. Yun spoke softly, more out of habit than belief. He told her she was safe. He said he would help. Her eyes opened. They were not glowing or sharp like most aliens he had met. They were dark and steady, filled with pain and focus. They locked onto his face as if she had been searching for it across the stars. She spoke in broken human language, her voice low and rough. She asked, very clearly, if he remembered her. Yun froze. He told her he did not. He said he had never seen her before. He was sure of it. She studied his face, breathing hard, as if the answer hurt her more than the wound. She did not argue. She only closed her eyes and whispered that humans always said that Yun did not understand, but he pushed the thought aside. He focused on stopping the bleeding and stabilizing her body. He called for a stretcher and medical support. Lee Jisu arrived moments later, her eyes widening at the sight of the alien woman. Together, they moved her into the station infirmary. As the doors sealed, the quiet returned, heavier than before. Hours past. Yun stayed with her, monitoring her condition. Her body responded well to treatment, far better than expected. Alien biology was often unpredictable, but hers adapted quickly, as if it had known human care before. When she woke again, she was calmer. She asked his name. He told her. She repeated it slowly, like a memory she was afraid to lose. Then she gave her own name. Kang Mira. The name meant nothing to Yun, yet the way she said it carried weight. Not pride. Responsibility. She asked him again if he was sure he did not remember her. Yun said yes. He apologized, feeling strange for doing so. Mira looked at the ceiling for a long time. She said that many years ago, on a dying human outpost near a red star, a human had carried her from fire and sickness. She said he had no reason to help, no reward, no fear. He had simply acted. Yun listened, his chest tightening. The story felt familiar in a way he could not explain. His old mentor had once spoken of a strange rescue during a plague, long before Yun joined him. Yun had thought it was just another frontier tale. Myra turned her head, and looked at him again. She said the human who saved her had the same eyes. Yoon said nothing. Outside the infirmary, Park Dean watched through the glass, his expression tense. An unknown alien injured with a story that made no sense. He knew trouble when he saw it. But he also knew humans survived by helping first and asking questions later. The station logs showed no record of Mira's ship, no warnings, no identification. That alone was dangerous. Other species did not move without paperwork. As the cycle lights dimmed to night mode, Yoon sat beside the bed. Mira slept again, her breathing steady. He felt the weight of her question pressing on his mind. Do you remember me? He did not. But for the first time in years, Yoon felt that space was not as empty as it seemed. Somewhere in the dark between stars, humanity had left marks it did not know existed. And now one of those marks had come back, bleeding and asking to be remembered. Yoon stayed awake, watching over her, unaware that this quiet moment would soon pull the station, and himself, into a story far larger than any ship or border. He only knew one thing. Whatever she truly was, she had come to humans for help, and that meant something. Han Yoon thought that after years on the edge of space, nothing could truly surprise him anymore. He was wrong. The days after Kong Mira woke fully were filled with a quiet tension that never left the station. Mira healed fast. Too fast. Her wounds closed cleanly, leaving faint marks like polished glass on her skin. Yoon had seen advanced alien medicine before, but this was different. Her body reacted to human treatment as if it trusted it, as if it had learned long ago that humans were safe. She spent most of her time sitting by the infirmary window, watching the stars drift past. She asked few questions about the station, but many about humans. Why they chose to live so far from the core worlds. Why they fixed broken things instead of replacing them. Why they helped strangers. Yoon answered as simply as he could. He said humans did not think too hard about it. When something was broken, they fixed it. When someone was hurt, they helped. That was all. Mira listened like every word mattered. Lee Jisoo noticed it too. She joked that the alien woman looked at Yoon like he was a rare star. Yoon brushed it off, but the comments stayed with him. One evening, while the station lights shifted to low power, Mira finally told more of her story. She spoke slowly, choosing her words with care. Long ago, her people had sent a small group to observe human expansion. They did not expect much. Humans were young, divided, and weak by galactic standards. The mission went wrong when a sickness spread through the crew. Their technology failed. Their allies refused to help. The nearest refuge was a human outpost, barely holding together. The humans there had no obligation to assist. Helping would risk their own lives. They helped anyway. Mira said she had been carried through smoke and fire by a human medic. He had wrapped her wounds with shaking hands and stayed beside her even when others fled. He did not know who she was or who she might become. He only knew she was alive. Yoon felt his throat tighten. The details matched his mentor's old stories too closely to ignore. The voice, the small outpost, the plague. He had always thought those stories were exaggerated. Now he wondered if they had been unfinished truths. Mira told him that the human medic had died days later from the sickness. He never knew that everyone he saved survived. He never knew that his actions echoed far beyond that dying station. Yoon said nothing for a long time. Park Dean called a private meeting soon after. He was worried. Sensors showed unusual traffic patterns near the sector. Ships were adjusting their routes, watching. Someone was looking for Mira. Mira did not deny it. She said her absence had been noticed. She said others would come, not all of them friendly. Park asked her who she really was. She answered honestly. She said she was not just a traveler. She was bound by duty to a powerful council. Her survival mattered more than the station's safety. Park grew angry. He said the station was not a shield for galactic games. Mira lowered her head. She said she understood, but she would not leave yet. She turned to Yoon and said she owed humanity a debt that could not be paid with words. That night, Yoon could not sleep. He walked the narrow corridors, thinking about his mentor. The man who had taught him that helping was never wasted. The man who had died unknown, buried under numbers in an old log file. Yoon realized then that humans did not measure impact the same way others did. They helped because it was right, not because it would matter. The next day, a small alien patrol appeared on long-range sensors. They did not approach, only watched. Their presence felt like a question hanging in space. Mira stood beside Yoon in the observation deck. She said that her people remembered that human outpost. They remembered the medic. They remembered the choice he made. She said that because of that choice, laws had changed quietly. Humans were no longer marked as expendable labor. Human settlements received protections they never knew existed. Doors opened for them without explanation. Yoon felt dizzy. Humanity had been helped for decades, guided by a kindness it did not even remember giving. Myra looked at him and said that whether he remembered her or not did not matter. What mattered was that humans had never stopped being who they were. The patrol ships powered down their sensors and drifted away, as if waiting. Yoon understood then that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching again. And once more, humanity stood at the center, not because it demanded attention, but because it had earned it without knowing. As Mira returned to the infirmary, Yoon followed, aware that the quiet days were ending. The question she had asked was no longer just about memory. It was about legacy. And humans, he realized, carried theirs without ever needing to look back. The station no longer felt like a forgotten place. Even when the scanners showed empty space, everyone sensed eyes watching from far away. Han Yoon felt it each time he walked the corridors, as if the walls themselves were listening. Kang Mira noticed the change too. She moved with more care now, staying close to the infirmary and observation deck. She no longer hid the strain on her face. The calm strength she carried before was still there, but beneath it lived worry. Park Dean increased security shifts, though there was little they could truly do. The station had no weapons worth naming. It survived by being small and ignored. That advantage was fading. One cycle, an encrypted signal reached the station. It did not come through normal channels. It arrived like a whisper forced into the systems. Lee Jisoo traced it and went pale. The signal carried authority marks used only by high alien councils. They were asking for Myra. Park wanted her gone immediately. He argued that the station could not survive attention like this. Myra listened quietly. When he finished, she bowed her head and said she understood his fear. But she also said that running would bring danger to other human stations instead. Yoon stood silent during the argument. He knew Park was right. He also knew Mira was telling the truth. Later, Yoon found Mira alone, staring at an old maintenance drone drifting outside the station. She said that humans built machines that lasted longer than expected. She said it reminded her of their people. Yoon asked her why she had really come here. Mira did not answer at first. Then she said that after the rescue long ago, she had watched humans from a distance. She had seen them struggle, fail, and keep going. She had pushed quietly for protections, favors, and chances. But influence from the shadows was not enough anymore. She said that others in her council wanted to use humans, to shape them into tools. She had argued against it for years. Her disappearance was not an accident. It was a choice. Yoon felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Mira said she needed to remind the galaxy why humans mattered. Not as soldiers or resources, but as people who chose kindness, even when it cost them everything. The next day, alien ships arrived. They did not attack. They formed a distant line, blocking trade routes. Pressure without violence. A warning. Park ordered all systems to low power. The station became dim and quiet. Supplies ran low. Traders stopped coming. Time stretched thin. Through it all, Yoon kept working. He repaired air filters, patched walls, and treated minor injuries. He noticed that everyone else did the same. No panic, no shouting. Just work. Myra watched this with something close to awe. She told Yoon that many species would have turned on each other by now. Humans did not. They shared food. They rotated shifts. They laughed quietly in the mess hall, as if refusing to let fear win. One evening, the alien fleet sent another message. This time, they demanded Mira's surrender. They promised the station safety in return. Park looked at Yoon. Yoon looked at the crew. No one spoke. Myra stood and said she would go. She said humans had already done enough. She would not let them suffer for her. Yoon surprised himself by stepping forward. He said no one here was suffering. He said humans chose their own actions. Lee Jisoo nodded. Others followed. Mira's eyes widened slightly. She said that this choice would be remembered. Yoon said humans did not need remembering. The fleet waited. Finally, Myra activated a personal beacon. Its signal cut through space like a blade. Authority codes flooded every channel. The alien ships froze. Mira straightened, her voice calm and heavy with power. She named laws older than the fleet commanders. Laws written after a human medic chose to help instead of turn away. She declared the station protected. The silence that followed felt endless. Then, slowly, the alien ships powered down and withdrew. The blockade ended. Inside the station, no one cheered. They simply returned to work. Mira exhaled, the tension leaving her body. She leaned against the wall, suddenly tired. Yoon caught her before she fell. She looked at him and said that now the galaxy would. Remember. Yoon said quietly, the humans would still forget. Myra smiled at that. As the stars resumed their slow drift. Yoon understood that this moment would change things far beyond the station. Humans had stood their ground without force, without demands. Just choice. And somewhere in the deep records of the galaxy, a simple truth had been confirmed again. Humans mattered not because they were strong, but because they refused to stop being human. After the alien fleet withdrew, the station felt different. The air seemed lighter, yet everyone knew the danger was not truly gone. Han Yoon returned to his routine, but nothing felt routine anymore. Kang Mira stayed quieter than before. The strength she had shown during the standoff had drained from her, leaving a deep tiredness. Yoon checked her health daily. Her body was stable, but her mind carried weight that no scanner could measure. News traveled slowly, but it did travel. A few trade ships returned, their crews cautious and curious. Questions spread in low voices. Why had a council fleet backed away from a human station with no weapons? Why had no punishment followed? Park Dean answered as little as possible. He logged the events cleanly and without drama. Humans had learned long ago that attention could be more dangerous than silence. One cycle, a new signal arrived. It was not a threat. It was a request. The council wanted to speak with Myra, and with a human representative. Park looked at Yoon. Yoon did not feel ready, but he understood why the choice fell on him. He had been there from the beginning. He had asked nothing and demanded nothing. The meeting took place through a wide projection field in the observation hall. Light shaped itself into tall figures, distant and powerful. Their voices echoed softly, layered and controlled. They addressed Mira first, questioning her actions, her absence, her use of authority. Mira answered with honesty. She said she had protected what needed protecting. Then the council turned their attention to Yoon. They asked him why humans had resisted the offer of safety in exchange for surrender. They asked why humans always chose risk when logic suggested retreat. Yoon thought carefully before he spoke. He said humans did not see it as risk. They saw it as responsibility. If someone came to them for help, turning away felt worse than danger. The council processed this answer in silence. One voice asked, Yoon, if humans expected reward for their kindness. Yoon said no. Another voice asked if humans sought influence. Yoon said no. A final voice asked why. Then humans kept helping. Yoon answered simply. He said that if humans stopped, they would no longer recognize themselves. The projection dimmed. When the council spoke again, their tone had changed. They acknowledged that human behavior did not fit standard models. They admitted that attempts to shape or control humanity had failed again and again. They announced a decision. Human settlements would gain open recognition as independent partners. No more silent protection. No more hidden favors. Humanity would stand openly, not as tools or workers, but as equals. Myra closed her eyes at the words. The council ended the transmission. The station remained quiet for a long time after. Lee Jisoo finally laughed, a short sound filled with disbelief. Park sat heavily in a chair, rubbing his face. No one celebrated. They were too busy understanding what had just happened. For Yoon, the moment felt unreal. Humanity had stepped into the light without trying to. Later, Mira asked Yoon to walk with her through the station. They passed worn walls and patched floors. She touched the metal gently, as if greeting an old friend. She told him that her people respected strength above all else. Humans confused them because their strength did not come from force. It came from refusal to abandon others. Mira admitted that she had feared humans would change if given power, that they would become like everyone else. Yoon said humans probably would make mistakes. Many of them. Myra smiled and said that was acceptable. As they reached the docking bay, Mira stopped. She said her duty would soon call her away. The council would not allow her to remain forever. Yoon felt a quiet sadness, sharper than he expected. Mira thanked him, not as a leader or protector, but as a human. She said that the questions she had asked him would soon no longer matter. The galaxy would remember humans now. Yoon answered that humans would keep doing what they always had. Mira nodded. That night, Yoon looked out at the stars again. They felt closer somehow, not because humanity had risen, but because it had stayed the same. The station returned to its work. Ships came and went. Repairs continued. Life moved forward. Yet far beyond the station, lines were being rewritten. Not because humans demanded change, but because the galaxy had finally learned what humans had always known. Kindness was not weakness. It was endurance. The day Kong Mira prepared to leave, the station felt smaller. Not because anything had changed in its size, but because everyone knew a chapter was ending. Even if no one spoke about it. Han Yoon helped with the final checks on her ship. It had been repaired quietly, without ceremony. Humans were good at that. They fixed things and moved on. Still, Yoon noticed how many crew members found reasons to pass by the dock, pretending to work while watching. Myra moved through the bay with calm steps. Her posture carried the same quiet strength as before, but now it felt lighter, as if a long burden had finally been set down. Park Dean thanked her in a simple way. He said the station would remember what she had done. Myra replied that memory was not required. Action was enough. Lee Jisoo offered her a small human patch, worn and faded, a symbol of the station. Mira accepted it with care and placed it inside her armor, close to her heart. When only Yoon remained, Mira asked him to walk with her one last time. They went to the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. Ships moved like slow thoughts across the dark. Mira spoke first. She said the council would test humanity, not with war, but with choice. Offers of power, speed, and advantage would come. She said not everyone would understand humans. Even now, Yoon said that was fine. Humans did not need to be understood by everyone. Myra smiled at that. She asked him again if he remembered her. Yoon was quiet for a long moment. Then he said no, not as an apology, as truth. Myra nodded, accepting it fully. Yoon continued. He said he remembered a man who taught him to help without asking why. He remembered a story about a dying outpost and a choice that felt small at the time. He remembered a way of living that humans carried forward, even when names were lost. Myra's eyes softened. She said that was enough. As they returned to the dock, Myra paused. She said that long ago, when she lay sick and afraid, she had believed humans were weak. She had been wrong. Humans were fragile, yes, but they chose to stand anyway. That choice had changed her life. Yoon said humans would keep choosing, even when it hurt. Mira boarded her ship. The hatch closed with a quiet sound. The ship lifted slowly and drifted away from the station. No music played. No speech followed. The stars swallowed it, as they did all things. Life returned to normal. Repairs needed doing. Ships arrived late. Filters failed. Yoon treated minor injuries and shared meals with the crew. Laughter returned, soft and familiar, but changes spread beyond the station. Messages arrived from distant colonies. Trade routes opened more easily. Inspections became fairer. Human voices were heard without being dismissed. Humanity noticed the change, but not with pride. With caution. Yoon read reports late at night, sitting alone. He saw humans arguing, failing, trying again. The same as always. One evening, he found an old log file from his mentor. It ended mid-sentence, unfinished. Yoon closed it gently. He realized then that humans did not need their stories completed. Others would carry them forward. Far away, Mira stood before the council. She spoke of a station that held no weapons, of humans who refused safety bought with surrender, of a medic who chose to help. The council listened. In time, Mira returned to her duties. She carried the human patch with her. A reminder. Back on the station, Yoon stood in the dock once more. Watching empty space, he did not feel forgotten. He felt connected. The galaxy would remember humanity now, not as conquerors, not as servants, but as people who showed up when it mattered. And somewhere in the dark, whenever someone asked for help, a human would answer, not to be remembered, but because that was who they were.